tenants are my cows. And I want to put this one clear and square. I'm just assuring that one of the best tenants that you can ever have are cows. But you can have some trouble. Yeah, I have some trouble with them with the dust. But I've not found any problem with the tenants called cows. Who diligently enters and they know where each one sleeps. And when it is time to go and feed or drink, they diligently move out. I've never seen any cow that has ever reneged on no payment of its rent. I've never quarreled with any cow. In fact, if there is any tenant in the form of a cow that is transigent, in 15 minutes it will be out. I simply call. Please call someone to come and take this tenant who is beginning to disturb me or is unwanted. I've never written any LC letter when they are taking any of my tenants anywhere. I've never gone for any tribunal. I've never given any of my tenants 3 months notice. Never. All my tenants at will they live and at ease they enter. And they pay very well. Right from milk to the calves, to the appreciation in the value of the cow as they gain weight, up to the cow dung, that even their impurity is a cash cow. Whilst the other, you need a cesspool emptier and you pay. For me, they book their waste while they are here. So, what a better real estate investment to make than to build these kind of structures. I know so many people who have built the greenhouses. I recently passed the one at Nsimbe, Sudils. I saw the late son, Rajiv, saying that we must concentrate on the high value, where 5 acres can give you $5 million. Little did people understand what he meant. That young man meant that with a greenhouse, like the one that they have in Nsimbe, growing flowers, you can harvest more money than the whole of coffee in value terms obtained from the Greater Masaka sub-region. And you wonder, so where do these arguments come from? If a structure has stayed for 15 years without a single repair, it raised poultry, it sheltered cows, and it is still standing firm for the next 10 years. What else can you ask from it? Maybe it is at that point that I try to merge the previous discussions that I had with NSSF and Capital Markets Authority to show exactly what we should do. Because sincerely, these people pick individuals of outstanding capability to discuss with the public. Now you can see, I agree with the buying of these financial products, bonds, treasury bills, and whatever. My advice would be that you need to gauge very well, not only onto the age bracket, but the most important one is the income bracket. How do you start now teaching so much people about buying unit trust and buying people who do not save, that they're living in dire deficits throughout? But I do strongly encourage people who are making any saving to have the right saving pattern. I agree with the buying of unity trusts. They are forced savings. They deduct that money from you, and you must have a purpose for it. For me, I call it a forced saving vehicle. Save your money there for 5 years or 10 years. Get your lump sum, buy land. Start a business project. I agree with the mid-income level managers whose salary has raised and they have some savings that they can make, who can buy bonds. If on your savings you can save some 5 or 10 million, every 3 months, why not invest it in bonds? Buy buy the bonds, ladder them 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Ladder them. I agree with it. So that is the age bracket, but also the income bracket. But may I kindly state this statement, that I appeal to most of the elderly people, from the age of 50, where you called me Mr. Cashflow. From the age of 50, I said you ought to have accumulated your fixed assets. I bought these things in my early 50s and started to say, when I say the structure 15 years ago, when I'm not yet 60, that means that I put them up when I'm in my early 50s. I urge all mature people, near retiring people, 50 to 55 and above, to balance their portfolios very well. Unless when your assets are cash rich, meaning they mint a lot of, they have a high liquidity. Please balance your portfolio and have a lot of near liquidity cash products. In other words, straightforward, I'm telling you, people especially who have not been in business or who have not been industrious, who are not industrious as hardworking as this man that he can run around with his agricultural projects, please buy the bonds, buy the government bonds. Leave your money with NSSF and you get those monthly payments. What is that flex plan? Leave that money, because if you are going to venture into business in the latter hours of your life, which I said that as we grow old, we need more cash. And people argue that when you are old, you need more assets. These are academic arguments. You need only the cash assets when they are meeting cash. But otherwise, I have seen many old people liquidating cheaply their assets because the financial demands when you grow old are high. Same with debt. Minimize the loans when you reach 50 if you don't want to lose all what you worked for 30 years. Minimize debt, minimize loans. When I clocked 50, I told banks, bye-bye, I will close off all your books. And that is essentially what I'm doing, closing off their books. But they have never seen any new application from me. So as you grow old, concentrate so much onto the cash liquidity. It must be higher. I therefore urge people to balance and approach this issue professionally. Am I raising any controversy? No. I am balancing it. This is a man who has shown you that he has a lot of fixed assets. He has a lot of real estate. But his real estate is also a cash cow. But equally is telling you that you should also invest into the financial products. Because when I talk about these financials, do we invest in the financials in my family? Yes. I think 60% of my other people, their financials are in those financial products because they are in that age bracket. I certainly encourage my children to acquire them, but I tell them with caution that at a certain age, you need to consolidate onto your assets. Because I have an issue with these financial products. Even if they give you a good return, 14, 15, the recent one released is 17.4%, 20-year-old bond. My question is always one, that the amount of money that you give to them and plus the interest today, if tomorrow I use the power parity, the comparison of the strength of the money that I give you today, will it be able to buy the same asset 10 years from now, even if they have added on your interest? Will it be able to give you the same amount of money? Will it? If the answer is no, like the way I put up this structure, like the way I put up that poultry structure, I ask myself one question. If that money had been invested into bonds, and they have compounded my interest, can I buy it today? Can I build it today? And lastly, I urge our regulators to be very mindful as they are drawing much of the cash reserves from the population and the government becoming the biggest borrower and giver of interest. The economic consequences are both good and dire, because many people now are no longer thinking of investing into such projects. It's juicier and safer to lend money to government. Even banks find it easier now to lend to government and safer than to entrepreneurs. You are draining the economy. I know all countries do it, but please, our economists, our regulators, be very mindful that finally when you have drained all the resources from the public, all those infrastructure, if at all the money was for infrastructure development, which I'm certainly sure is not, when I look at the percentage of the debt servicing ratio, that part 27% of the government is recurrent budget expenditure goes on to debt servicing, it shatters my heart. I see so many houses. People argue about real estate. But you go onto Google and see how many thousands of houses are on sale in Kira municipality alone. You look at all the real estate, the rate of occupancy. You look at all other areas. And that's where you must salute people like Mohammed, who have not chosen this easier and softer way of lending, of buying these bonds that are safe, perceivingly safe. But Mohammed knows the economic consequences when the government mops up the money from the public under the guise of giving them higher interest rates. Those houses are going to be empty. Those houses built are not going to be bought because people don't have money. And that is the song unto everybody, regardless of how they are going to inject money using other means. Pouring a small, spoon onto a hot pan, because it has already been mopped up. Everybody who has the capacity to invest nowadays find it better, rewarding, and safer to invest into government bonds. When the government borrows all the money from the people that would have been used for development, how shall we develop our country? Thank you.